Mr. Shakespeare, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you, man?
Yeah, mate, good. It's not that long back that I came down to yours, took a picture, made your head look massive. That was all I did all day. It was nothing of any other importance. More new modules.
Yes.
Some that took me by surprise, which was nice.
Okay.
Looks like you're developing power. You've got some solutions for guitarists.
Yeah.
Portland's with us. Is that Portland in a case?
It's Portland in a case, yeah.
Where would you like?
Panel.
Where would you like to start? New Future Sound Systems gear.
Let's do our oscillators. So from last year, we kind of premiered the Cyclical Engine. We had a couple of bugs that we had to iron out with that. Brunswick and Portland kind of took up quite a lot of our time, but we've finally been able to kind of get it finished and out there.
You've added it was normal VCA control over all the waves previously. Yeah. They're now ring modulators, right?
So yeah, you can switch between. So the VCAs either have like 2 quadrant multiplication or 4 quadrant multiplication. So in 2 quadrant, you're kind of only really responding to the positive part of the CV.
So it kind of half-wave rectifies anything you put in LFOs over oscillators.
Yeah. And then on the 4 quadrant, you can invert the waveform with a negative CV. So it does kind of give you more kind of ring mod style. You've got to be a bit careful as to how you dial that in, because you've got to find the 0 point of all the waveforms. But it's pretty easy. Once you've learnt it once, you kind of know where things are. So
being able to do that on a individual wave basis, not going my whole oscillator, like FM as an effect, it directly affects the core, everything changes. Being able to just go, these are stable, this one isn't, and blend them, manipulate them, cross-patch them, that's really cool.
Thanks.
But we've also got another oscillator, right?
Yeah, so the Recombination Engine is a new thing to our roster, essentially. This has been kicking around in our, I guess, ideas base for about 5 years. And essentially what it is a triple VCO. We're taking the idea of genetic engineering. So you've got your master oscillator is the SCISSOR. Then you've got 2 DNA oscillators, one positive, one negative. The SCISSOR square wave acts to bring the positive DNA when it's in its positive portion, and when the square wave goes negative, it fires off the negative DNA oscillator.
And these can be at different rates, right? So you're switching between 2 different oscillators, 2 different rates, wave shapes potentially, I guess.
So what we've got is we've got sine triangle and ramp on the DNA oscillators. And at the minute, what we're just listening to is both at like pretty much 0 frequency. So it's just going positive, negative, you're getting a square wave. As we bring the frequencies up, you'll hear that you kind of get more interesting things happen on a harmonic level. Kind of like the Cyclical Engine, we've got VCAs on those wave shapes, so you can take them to mute. At 12 o'clock, they're modulated by the square wave. At full scale, they're just on all the time at the glue section. So
just before that, there was everything in that from acidic filter, FM, weird sidebands, sync effects. Yeah.
So what you're listening to there is those 2 oscillators are being synced to the transients of the SCISSOR square wave. So you can take that off. You've got a few buses at the bottom of the SCISSOR. So if I take off the sync lock, I'll just bring those back up. Let's listen to the triangle. Now take the sync lock off. And put it back on. And it just gives you a bit more kind of...
very vocal, very Foreman-like.
Yeah, all of that stuff. I think when you like have the oscillators kind of in unison, you can get really kind of weird stuff coming out of it. taking the sync off there, you can hear the obvious, like, completely unrelated to this oscillator, immediately bring the sync in. You've also got this pulse width skew. So taking that square wave idea, what this tries to do is that as you change the pulse width of that square wave, you compress and extend the different positive and negative.
Super vocal.
Yeah. So again, we can feed, let's take an LFO from one of the cyclical engines.
Like Analogue, like VOSM, voice synthesis.
Yeah. So again, you can do all of that. You've got AM on all the wave shapes. You've got Expo and linear FM. There's a bunch of different stuff you can do with it. I mean, a friend of mine is really into the EMS stuff. And I kind of showed him this, and he's like, oh, it's like the VCOs of a VCS3. I can just patch all this together, and it just sounds like a VCS3. Just crazy FM stuff.
I like the idea of having to hunt for some VCS3 accent.
Yeah.
It's in no way a synthy clone, but there are these tones hidden in this genetic scissor. I'm going to call the video "How to Genetic Scissor." It's an amazing idea.
Thank you very much. But yeah, we finally, really, thanks to Mary Curtis and the new 3340, we've managed to find an analog oscillator that is tight enough so they all can stay in track. You know, that's the thing, you can CV lock the scissor to the other two, so if you want, I mean, you can take these off. And then I'll mix the scissor back in at the glue section. To use it more of just a stacked triple oscillator, you can still do that. There's a VCA on the end, so you've still got the VCA at the back end of it, like you've got in the cyclical engine.
I'm just into anything that puts tonal shaping into the signal path.
Yeah.
And not that you've said this in any way, but when people say, oh, you don't need filters with this because it does its tonal thing, to me it's like, well, imagine another stage of modulation and another stage of it's modular. That's kind of the whole point to me.
Yeah.
And I love the oscillator is going. There's just everything in here. And in my mind, I'm still thinking I'll run it down this path.
Yeah.
But just then expression, musicality, ways of interfacing modulation or human interaction.
Yeah.
There's just so many points to kind of go at expressively.
Yeah.
It's a really welcome thing in the format, I think.
Thanks, Ben. Cheers. Thank you. And we've also got Jamie's kind of new invention is a linear power supply. So we're kind of running half the rig off that. That is definitely a work in progress at the minute. There's still quite a lot for us to do there. But we're
just to briefly speak to, we don't need to get technical, but why do a power supply? What are the issues? What are you solving?
Okay.
Why bother, I guess,
Sure.
for those that aren't aware of potential power issues in modular?
So we wanted to do, first of all, a high current power supply, so something that would really,
or a decent sized rig on its own.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking like, 1.5 amps per rail, easy. Everything is rated up to 2 amps. So we're aiming that you could essentially, this was about drawing an amp in total. So you could have,
12U.
Yeah, 24U, a lot of stuff. We're talking, big studio rigs. But then at the same time, if you're touring and you want to use mains, you don't want to bother using like wall warts that if they get lost, you're screwed when you're doing your sound check because you don't know where the wall wart's gone. You don't have maplins anymore. You can't just go down the road. It just runs off an IEC. There's a voltage selector on there, so you can turn between 110 and 240.
Okay.
It's nice and quiet. It's completely linear. There's no switching. Yes, okay, switching supplies are very good now, but we wanted to do our own thing. We're not really interested in just rebadging an off-the-shelf supply.
No.
You know, we've done that in our own rigs and it works perfectly, but if we're going to work on something from an engineering basis, we want it to be our own. We want full control over it. If anything does happen, you know, we're hoping that these will last decades. But if one does come into service, we know exactly what's going on. We know how to fix it. We know that we can service it.
Right.
So we want this to really be for the serious modular synthesizer user, you know.
Yeah.
It's a premium product, it's going to go at a premium price, but it will last you for years and years and years.
There are many people with power issues, and it's often a hard thing to troubleshoot.
Yeah.
And it's nice for someone to put something out that they'll stand by that is of quality.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, the other thing is we've also gotten down like the power entry to the modular on this 4-pin XLR. We've got the distro boards behind that. The 5-volt is generated local inside the box. So we do have all of these other power solutions as well. And yeah, we are slowly working towards a release on that. We've just got a lot to figure out beforehand. So, and then
just before we touch on kind of desktop stuff, pin matrixy goodness. When roughly are you expecting both the oscillators?
Oh, okay, yeah. So the Cyclical Engine, that's up for pre-order now. That's going to come out definitely by the 1st of July. It's pretty much there. We've just got to order some more boards. That'll be a couple of weeks. So we're ready to go on that.
Price on that?
That is 200 ex-VAT. So 240 for anyone in the UK and Europe, plus shipping. And then the recombination is 500 ex-VAT. So is that 600?
Whatever that works.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah.
And roughly how far off is it? The Recombination Engine?
We're at the moment we're giving winter this year. We've got
end of the year.
Yeah, we want to tighten up the sync a little bit, but it's close enough to going. We're just giving ourselves a lot of time to fix that because we expect we're going to have a few busy months ahead.
Just to touch on, we've also got this pin matrix that's quite nicely feeding our camera, pedals, sequencing.
Yeah. So kind of like Jamie and I spoke together about doing a standalone pin matrix, and this has really been Jamie's product. He's done amazing work with this, where you can attach anything currently on 1/4 inch. This one is passive here, so anything like pedals, you know, line output synths,
rack gear.
Yeah, you can feed it all into this and just really easily repatch. So I'm just trying to remember exactly what we've got going in here, but I think if we do that, we're then listening to the Behringer Echo Machine pedal. Which sadly they discontinued. It's actually a really good pedal, but you can really easily just slam that straight into the signal chain.
It's a really performable, creative way to work,
yeah.
I think, with signal routing. It kind of makes signal routing sexy.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it came from a few discussions that we had with other people saying like, you know, oh, well, it'd be really nice if you could do this kind of routing for pedals, because I've got a pedal board, but you know, taking all the patch leads in and out, it's a pain in the backside. So we're hoping to do also like an active version for line level users, and then a more guitar centric version with a guitar kind of amp in it with a bit of a tone section, and then all the impedance is set for pedals. So,
perfect.
Yeah.
And again, rough price, rough availability?
We have no idea at the minute. It's a bit of an ongoing project. We kind of we want to get all the different versions of it down first, figure out the pricing, and then just bang, go with it. We're trying to aim for the most modular design that we can possibly get. So
okay,
nice,
great. Well, thank you very much.
You can write on it as well. It's all dry wipeable.
You can write. You can draw on any of this stuff. It's fine.
But it's white. It's white, Ben. It's white.
It's not dry wipe. Unfortunately, your rack's not a dry wipe environment.
Exactly. No dry wipes involved.
So for those really into dry wipe, you're giving them a flavour of.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, very good.
Cheers, Ben. Thanks, guys.